Today I'm reacting to your Friday Night SmackDown after WrestleMania Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether they're good thoughts, bad thoughts, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you're following me on X, because over there I ask for your hot take after every episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every single WWE Premium Live event. And if you are looking for our review of this particular amazing episode of Friday Night SmackDown, it's already up and available on the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap, with footage so that you can see exactly what it is that we're talking about. As always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's read your stupid shit. We do not need Nia Jax versus Tiffany Stratton at all, and it shouldn't have been revisited. Okay, so I don't love the idea of running back Nia Jax versus Tiffany Stratton. Again, I know it's not the sexiest feud. I know that Tiffany Stratton could be doing bigger, better, more entertaining things. However, I actually disagree with you. I do think that we need Nia Jax versus Tiffany Stratton because Nia Jax has not been properly beaten by Tiffany Stratton. And I know that Tiffany Stratton just beat Charlotte Flair and that helped solidify her championship reign, but Nia Jax continues to be an asterisk on her championship reign because she's only been able to beat her by cashing in Money in the Bank and has only been able to pin her in a tag team match. We need to have Tiffany actually outright beat Nia Jax so that we can then properly move on from this feud so that we can do the bigger, better things. Why the heck wasn't this on the Mania card? This was giving Hardys versus Dudleys versus Edge and Christian vibes. So that will always be the question that we have. Why was this not on the WrestleMania card? The answer is there is no appropriate answer. The WWE might one day give us some corporate BS answer, but it will never be enough. These guys were clearly and definitively, unequivocally robbed of their WrestleMania spot. This was a WrestleMania match on free TV, a WrestleMania match with people that deserve to be on the WrestleMania card. And even though it was amazing on SmackDown, it hurts my soul that these guys didn't get their WrestleMania moment. This absolutely deserved to be on the WrestleMania card. And there are going to be old heads, and I guess technically I fall under that category, that tell you that this comes nowhere near close, the Hardys versus the Dudley Boys versus Edge and Christian, and maybe it doesn't, but this is going to be this new generation's version of that match, and I'm so happy specifically for younger fans that now have their definitive generational TLC match. If the rumors are true about Bianca being out for months, that sucks so much. I imagine she was supposed to be a very important part of the SmackDown women's division in her feuds with Naomi and Jade. Now they have to postpone that again. She will be dearly missed. Man, it almost feels like WWE isn't able to properly time their women's division. What I mean by that is that they had such a stacked women's division on Friday Night SmackDown and such a weak one on Raw that they ended up having to send Bayley over there. We had Becky return to Monday Night Raw, and yet here we are. Now SmackDown is losing one of their biggest stars, and now maybe the Raw side of things has the bigger names and the bigger stars. Either way, this does suck. Bianca Belair has won me over in so many different ways, both from an in-ring perspective and from a character point of view over the past 12 months. She has become one of my favorites in the women's division. And I do think that at some point or another, maybe, dare I say, WrestleMania 42, we are going to get probably a women's championship match between the big three of Jade, Bianca, and Naomi. And maybe because of this injury, this will push it beyond SummerSlam and now have this happen potentially at WrestleMania 42. Those injuries aren't a joke. Those are tough to come back from, especially in an industry where you're using your upper body and your arms and your fingers all the time. So I do think that we're probably going to be missing Bianca Belair for quite a few months. I will forever curse Hunter for giving War Raiders versus the New Day over this banger awesome TLC match. I mean, me too, but at the end of the day, I think we have to blame the advertisers. Clash of Clans probably wanted to work with Xavier Woods because of his connection with gaming, up, down, down, etc. But hell, man, had all of these tag teams in the TLC match come out, I don't know, in Barbarian wear to promote Clash of Clans, that would have been sick too. I would have absolutely preferred this a million times over the New Day versus the War Raiders on the WrestleMania card. And there are people that are gaslighting themselves into thinking that it being on SmackDown was the better choice because we wouldn't have had enough time at WrestleMania. You don't know that. You're just coming up with excuses for a terrible decision that WWE made. No, we should all be shaming WWE for not putting this on the WrestleMania card. At the very minimum, we gotta praise WWE for making this match have no commercials.
I have to say the agility though.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, white noise. Oh, on the hardest part of the ring. Bro, what the hell? What the hell is that? That, folks, was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club, available exclusively on patreon.com/SantiZap. The theme of this week is nothing but 5-star matches. So we'll be looking at the Lucha Brothers, Penta and Rey Fenix taking on Laredo Kid and Hijo del Vikingo from AAA in 2021. Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood 1997. Shuri and Utami from Stardom back in 2021. Kenny Omega versus Rey Fenix from AEW Dynamite also in 2021. And we're looking at the Intercontinental Championship Classic between Gunther and Sheamus at Clash at the Castle 2022. You'll be getting this and more, like the Raw review, SmackDown reviews, all the PLE reviews, the podcast 3 days early, and a whole host of extra other pieces of content that never get uploaded here to YouTube because they would just get blocked due to copyright. So go check it out, patreon.com/SantiZap. I'm confident that if you try it even for just 1 month, that you will fall in love with it. If you're already a patron, thank you so much for your support, but now let's get you back to the video. No Alexa Bliss again. Really hope that we see her soon. She's an all-time great. So it seems to me at first glance that anything that Alexa Bliss is doing is pretty much entirely tied to whatever the Wyatt Six are doing and whenever they're able to come back. It looks to me like they're coming back as an entire package. I thought that there was a moment, especially during Aleister Black's entrance, that maybe it was the Wyatt Six with Alexa Bliss. That could have been entertaining. However, it looks like there is no end in sight for their hiatus, which again, I beg the question, why even bring Alexa Bliss back at the Royal Rumble in the first place if you had no plans for her outside of her doing something with the Wyatt Six? Solo taking credit for Jacob's success is a perfect and perhaps the only way to have Jacob turn face against Solo Sikoa. I mean, I love this. I love this dynamic that's going on between Solo and Jacob. Solo's promo, believe it or not, as heel as it was, is kind of true. Jacob Fatu, in the very words of Paul Heyman, was the black sheep of the bloodline. Nobody wanted anything to do with him. He was too scary, too dangerous, too uncontrollable. And who brought him in? Who controlled him? Who put him down the path of success? It was Solo Sikoa. So even though Solo is taking credit for something that he technically didn't do, win the US Championship, there is part of Jacob Fatu's success that is in storyline because of Solo. Solo's promo was great. Jacob Fatu's response was fantastic as well. I'm actually really looking forward to this storyline, even though most things that involve Solo Sikoa don't particularly interest me at all. But this might be the thing. This might be the feud where I'm like, yeah, this is what's gonna win me over when it comes to Solo Sikoa, because him being the leader of Bloodline B team just never did it for me. But this could work. The TLC match wasn't on the WrestleMania card for a good reason. It would steal the show. Look, I look at everything else that we got from WrestleMania, and I feel like had you swap this out for the War Raiders and New Day match, it would have been perfectly placed. It would have helped continue to get people more excited for the show, and it would have been bookended with what is, to me, the best match of the year, that triple threat match between Roman, Punk, and Seth. I don't think it would have stolen the show from that. If anything, it would have really helped make night one a lot more memorable beyond just it being an awesome main event. I feel like this definitely belonged in the night one match 2 spot that for some damn reason they gave to the War Raiders and New Day. Cena versus Randy at Backlash may shock people and turn out to be an at least above average match. Randy is still good in ring, and Cena can go with the right partner. Example, his 3 minutes mini match with CM Punk inside the chamber. This match needs a stipulation though. So typically I would disagree with somebody that says that this match, which is the first match of whatever feud this ends up being, with it needing a stipulation. But in this scenario, I could see it warranting a stipulation because this is like match 57 million between John Cena and Randy Orton in their career, albeit it is a little bit of a Twilight Zone with a face Randy Orton and an evil John Cena. I don't think that this match is going to be great. I'm going to be honest with you, but I hope that it doesn't have the stupid dumbassness from the WrestleMania main event with celebrity appearances that could cost Randy Orton the match. I just hope that this is a good match that's worked by a heel Cena and a good match worked by a crowd favorite, crowd working Randy Orton. I feel like it doesn't really need to be much beyond that because the aura and the nostalgia is what's going to carry this match. This week's been a drama with The Rock's interview and the feeling that all was a disaster disaster. But hell, Paul Levesque, that quote, after Mania shows have been truly incredible. The crowd was totally lit. I disagree about the crowd. I actually thought that the crowd was rather weak on today's show. They were great on the Raw after WrestleMania, but I didn't really think much of this crowd in Fort Worth, Texas. But it is interesting that they're bouncing back so well after the disastrous ending that was WrestleMania. It's funny because of The Rock's interview and him trying to do damage control and trying to say that everything was the way it needed to be, that he didn't need to be there, that everything was fine with Travis Scott, and that it was about John Cena's 17th. After that aftermath, now everyone's just sort of pointing the finger at The Rock. We just sort of found public enemy number one. The reason to blame for bad booking apparently is now The Rock. I don't know how true that is. I think there is a lot to unpack there, and there might be a lot of truth behind it, but it's certainly making Triple H look like the biggest babyface in corporate America right now. He's a doctor, plumber, pizza delivery guy, soldier, astronaut, firefighter, and tonight he put on a hell of a match. I'm not going to explain this joke. If you get it, you get it. Chelsea should have lost to Michin instead of Zelina because it was an actual built-up storyline / feud. Okay, so funny enough, I agree and disagree with you at the same time. I do believe that the Michin and Chelsea Green feud was a much better feud and a much better feud to warrant a championship change. It's almost like they should have just swapped. Had Michin come in after Zelina Vega, I would have been so on board with Michin winning the United States Championship. The only reason I wasn't on board with Michin winning, even though their feud was actually really good and had some entertaining matches, was because I wanted a decently healthy long run for Chelsea Green. But everything after the Michin feud just plummeted, and WWE stopped putting any ounce of care into the women's mid-card division. Everyone's gonna talk about the TLC match, but me? Nah. LA Knight proved it again that he is ready for the main event. We know his mic skills are up there. However, today he swam with the version of Drew McIntyre who belongs in the upper main event alongside Punk and Rollinses of the world. Hope that he can get out of this Bloodline 2.0 vortex. LA Knight versus John Cena at Money in the Bank in LA? Yeah. I don't really have any arguments about what you just said. LA Knight looked like a star. And here's the thing, the LA Knights of the world on SmackDown have no choice but to be stars, especially if we're going to have a part-time champion in John Cena, and if we're not going to have the top babyface on SmackDown of Cody Rhodes for a long time. There is a spot there to be taken. There is a vacuum to be filled, and LA Knight could be one of those guys that fills that void until all of the main event pieces start coming back. And once those main event pieces come back, it's possible that LA Knight may have entrenched himself in the main event scene if he plays his cards well over the next couple of months. I don't mind the idea of LA Knight versus John Cena. It'd be a good callback to John Cena's last babyface run before he got destroyed by Solo Sikoa at Crown Jewel a couple years ago. I don't hate this, and I kind of agree with you. He looked great, and he stood out in a sea full of just monstrous great white sharks, like the Solos, like Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre. LA Knight looked great in that segment. The people who keep saying John Cena's heel run is underwhelming just don't understand it. This has been phenomenal work, and the promo he had with Randy Orton was one of the best that I've seen from him and from a wrestler in general. This heel run has been fantastic. It completely blew my expectations out of the water, and I'm really excited to see what's next. I'm ready for John Cena to move on away from just insulting the fans. I feel like we already got our dose of that, and I'm more so interested in exploring the promos with the baby faces that want to save the WWE, that are wanting to protect the history and legacy. I love this, the actual promo back and forth between Randy Orton and John Cena. Randy Orton parent shaving John Cena that he needs to go and have some kids and actually grow up. I love that Randy Orton is bringing up the fact that John Cena wants to steal history, and by stealing history, he would be erasing the 3 generations of the Orton name from wrestling. That is a brilliant motivation to gun after John Cena. But the back and forth between John Cena and Randy Orton to me was like A+++ level mic work. It was fantastic. Again, my only critique is just John Cena focusing too much on the fans when we've already kind of gone down that road and we've already kind of established what the relationship is between John Cena and the fans in 2025. We know what it is. Now I want to see what the new relationship is like between John Cena and all of these baby faces that are trying to save WWE. I feel like they had to make the last hour of SmackDown commercial free to make up for the fact that the TLC triple threat match wasn't on the WrestleMania card. They tried to make it feel as much like a WrestleMania match as possible when it should have just been on the card in the first first place. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I could tell there was at the very least an attempt being made to make this match feel special when honestly it should have just been much simpler than this. It should have just been on the WrestleMania card, but clearly someone within the WWE, they must know they messed up. They heard the boos from the Las Vegas crowd when they announced this wasn't going to be on the WrestleMania card, and they said, okay, let's treat it like a WrestleMania match, even if it's not on WrestleMania. John Cena's heel run has gone stale. It's the same type of promos, the same presentation. He needs to spice things up going into the summer to keep things interesting. I just don't think that you have very much vision for the long term if you're already calling this stale. I frankly don't agree that John Cena's heel run is stale. There is so many opponents that could be gunning after this John Cena that to me, that alone is so mouthwatering and prevents this from getting stale. I'll agree with you that the interactions between Cena and the crowd, Cena just continuously telling us that we suck and that he hates us, that might be getting stale, but like the Cena heel run, no shot. This might be my favorite version of Randy Orton as a babyface because my God, he did amazing and cut an amazing promo. Oh man, this Randy Orton is absolutely in his A game. I've always said that Randy Orton does not get enough credit for being one of the best mic workers in the history of the WWE. He's like sneaky good. He just isn't compared to the Punks and the Cenas and the Paul Heymans of the world, but Randy Orton absolutely deserves his flowers. This promo from Randy Orton was absolutely A tier. The TLC and Chelsea versus Zelina should have been on WrestleMania. We did not need 8 hours of pre-show. Okay, so this is, I guess, my concern about this WrestleMania pre-show. Like, what is the purpose of it? I think the answer is advertisement spots, but also, I guess, to catch you up on everything that you've missed if you are only tuning into WrestleMania for the first time. But here's the thing, if that 3-hour pre-show is designed for those that don't watch weekly, what makes you think that they're going to sit through 3 freaking hours of a pre-show that doesn't even have matches? I just don't know that WWE understands that that pre-show absolutely lands with nobody, and I really just think it's advertisement spot for the sake of making a few extra dollars. And hey, I'm a YouTuber. I understand advertisement spots, but those 3 hours that they spent on this pre-show were almost all just dead space and boring. I'm not saying the TLC match should have been on the pre-show, but I think that there is room to make matches like Zelina versus Chelsea Green fit in the pre-show, or just get other stuff in the pre-show, the Andre the Giant Memorial in the pre-show. This 3-hour pre-show, brother, let's cut this down if we're not going to have matches in it. Zelina Vega winning the women's US title was the best decision for the title. I agree. I think more than anything, just getting it off of Chelsea Green. WWE has done just so much damage to the character of Chelsea Green that the championship reign was dying. And alongside the championship reign, the aura and the importance of the US championship was dying. It was time for a change. You guys know that I love Chelsea Green. Huge fan of Chelsea Green, but the WWE's booking just did this championship reign such a disservice that it was absolutely time for a change. Having Pretty Deadly and Los Garzas out of the TLC match is diabolical. They bust their asses off for what? To not participate on something that they've helped build for more than 6 months with zero payoff? What is wrong with booking nowadays? That does kind of suck. Look, at the very least, Los Garzas got a high-profile match with a debuting Fraxiom, and it was a good competitive match. Where the hell was Pretty Deadly? That's a really good question. In my mind, I believe all of those teams deserve to be in this TLC match. Maybe it would have been way too hectic, but hey, whatever, man. I also agree that it would have been nice to have all of the teams in there. Insanely happy to see Aleister return. I'm hoping that this leads into a feud with Drew or even Cody if he's kept away from the title, but my main hope is that he gets into the main event scene. Also, no Def Rebel, thank God. That last bit is the most important bit. Aleister Black is coming back with his old NXT Black and Gold presentation. He is coming back with his old amazing S-tier entrance theme, and Def Rebel didn't touch it. I was concerned that when it faded to black, it was going to have something like, welcome to the House of Black, and some shitty ass theme. But no, we got it's like he never left. We got the Aleister Black of old, and I love it. I'm so happy that he's back. He was one of my favorites to never really get a proper opportunity on the main roster, and I hope sincerely that WWE does it well this time. We've got examples of them doing it really well, but unfortunately we have a glaring example in Andrade of them doing it not so well. This is by far the best TLC match that I've ever seen. This year will be hard to choose for a match of the year. Dude, think about the matches that we've already had. We had 2 match of the year contenders at WrestleMania in both triple threat matches. The stand and deliver triple threat match, that was fantastic. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens in that fantastic unsanctioned match. We got Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes in the ladder match. There are so many match of the year contenders pictures to pick from, and we're only in April. I'm so invested in the men's United States title picture now that Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest are in it. I kind of wish Drew was pushed to the upper card after his win back from WrestleMania 41. Listen, there is going to be a vacuum of being left because I've already mentioned Cena is a part-timer and Cody Rhodes is likely taking some time off. This United States Championship picture is going to be the main event picture of Friday Night SmackDown probably for the next several months. They're going to be the most consistent main event players, if you ask me. And honestly, this is such an opportunity for Drew McIntyre to remind the world of how good he is, but a great opportunity for Solo, Jacob Fatu, Damian Priest, and LA Knight to tell the world that they belong to be in the same conversation as Drew McIntyre. I think that this division is absolutely going to bang, not just because of the people that are involved, but because it has to. There's no choice but for it to be fantastic because they're going to be the thing that carries SmackDown for the next several months. Gonna tell my kids that this was the original TLC match. Hey, you joke, but this is going to be the OG TLC match for a lot of kids today. We, the old heads, we remember the stuff that happened in the late Attitude Era, early Ruthless Aggression era, but it's been like 20 years since we've had a TLC match that was like honestly like legendary status, and we just got it. This is the OG TLC match for the new generation of wrestling fans, and that's something that I'm going to celebrate for them as opposed to being an old piece of shit and say, the Hardys at TLC, WrestleMania 17 was better. We need to shut the hell up and let the younger generation enjoy this generational TLC match. I feel both Aleister and Rusev's debut were a bit underwhelming in terms of seemingly being placed in the lower mid-card upon arrival. I agree, I feel like it is low creative juices for both Aleister Black and Rusev. I'm more concerned about Rusev than I am for Aleister Black. At the very least, The Miz is a single star. At the very least, he's a main eventer, first ballot Hall of Famer, but Alpha Academy, that means absolutely nothing to anybody. I would like to see both of those guys go after bigger fish on the next coming episodes of Friday Night SmackDown. Look, at the very least, Aleister, if he beats The Miz, then we're probably going to get set up for Aleister versus Carmelo Hayes. There's stuff to like there. But Rusev, Alpha Academy, that's a dead end. We need to get him the hell out of there. I love the fact that Fraxiom is on the main roster. However, I can't shake the feeling that they should have gone to Raw instead. I feel like Fraxiom would have pretty much been able to revive that tag team division. I mean, I agree, but also at the same time, Raw has sort of been the place where tag teams go to die, like Authors of Pain went there to die, A-Town Down Under is over there dying, the New Day and the War Raiders, even though they were repackaged from the Viking Express now back to this, they're dying over there. But I do agree. I feel like they could have been used to actually give a jolt of life to that dead tag team division on Monday Night Raw, but I don't think that it's the worst thing to happen because now they're going to be having matches against amazing tag teams in a healthy tag team division. This setup for the Backlash match needs to end with Randy taking the title from John. If John just runs the gauntlet as a heel going through all of the top faces, it will get so boring and formulaic. I don't think that it'll get boring and formulaic. You think like people like CM Punk going after this championship would be boring and formulaic? You think that like the top baby faces going after this Cena that's trying to end wrestling is formulaic? I don't think so. I will say, I think anything is possible. I don't think that this is a situation where this is just a filler feud like Cody Rhodes had after winning the championship because The Rock basically made all the feuds filler. I think that the title is legitimately up for grabs and Randy could very well be your next WWE Undisputed Champion. Is there a world where Braun Breaker, with the help of his new faction, is the one who dethroned Cena? I wasn't thinking Braun Breaker. If anything, I was thinking Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is the one that wants to protect the future of the WWE. The future goes through him, and who's trying to destroy the future? It's John Cena. I mean, I think at some point those two narratives kind of coincide way too perfectly to not run that match. Don't let this great SmackDown distract you from the fact that we still haven't gotten Pretty Deadly the musical. You are actually speaking facts here. Where the hell is the musical? I love the idea of R-Truth turning heel without knowing that he's turned heel. I like that he's comedy gold. He can cheat to win matches just like Cena, but he isn't aware that he's cheating because he thinks everything Cena does is right. Dude, when these guys were on screen together, my heart was about to break. It was about to melt because I thought that John Cena was going to just lay into R-Truth, but I think it would be so funny if R-Truth is the only person that John Cena likes because R-Truth is the only person that's been ride or die with Cena, whether he's a good guy or a bad guy. This would be awesome. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching this episode of Hot Takes. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Goodbye. Get out of here.